you take into cognizance other road users and ensure that you drive safe out there. Not to also forget that COVID-19 is still ravaging. So it goes without saying that we should all continue to do our best to stay safe at this period. There are non-pharmaceutical approaches on how to stay safe, and I'm sure you know all of that, and it's important that we all are there strictly. Finally, before Lola also introduces herself, is that the INEC registration is still ongoing. My wife went for a capturing yesterday, and suffice to say that a number of people are not taking advantage. At the INEC office around the Yano mortuary yesterday, we had maybe 15, maybe 20 people.
And they were all attended to swiftly?
Yes, swiftly, yes, swiftly.
Wow.
So, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for joining us. Take advantage of the INEC registration as well. It is key as well as important.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us once again. My name is Lola Miduteni, and Boygas pretty much said it all. Ensure you're doing your duty as a responsible citizen by registering for your PVC, updating your information. If you've changed states, if you lost your card, whatever it is, ensure that when election day comes in 2023, you have the ability to exercise your civic right and vote. And also, vaccinations began yesterday as well. So if you missed the first batch we announced yesterday, now is the time to go get your shot so that, you shouldn't have to stop all the necessary precautions, but it's complemented when you get your vaccine. So it's the third Tuesday of the month, and as you know, every third Tuesday of the month, we have the good people of WACON joining us. WACON is Women Consortium of Nigeria. They are supported by the MacArthur Foundation, and they're here again this month to shed some light on some very pertinent issues.
And they are here this morning, every third Tuesday, like Lola said, and we have the representatives this morning. Our guest this morning is Bisi Olaunipe. She's a program officer, Women Consortium of Nigeria. She's always been behind the scene before, but this morning she's right on the scene. Good morning to you. It's good to have you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bisi. It's good to hear your voice on radio. Finally.
So how does it feel to be in front of the microphone now?
Yeah,
You've been putting others there, but now
you that's my job. So today is my turn.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
So today we are looking at parents as accountability partners in the homegrown school feeding program. We have been talking a lot about the homegrown school feeding program every third Tuesday because this is WACON's focus at this time, and it's now. I'm sure a number of parents are listening to us, so you want to stick around to find out what your role is, in this particular program. So let's start by asking you, BC, this morning, why is accountability important in this particular project?
Firstly, I would like to tell us what accountability means. It simply means the obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. For the homegrown school feeding, accountability in the feeding means that you have been assigned to feed 200 in a particular school, and you get there in time and you ensure that these 200 learners are adequately fed as expected. So it is important for improved efficiency in the project and for quality service delivery. In this homegrown school feeding, during the course of our work, we found that the ministry has done well to usually send the number of pupils to be fed to each cook. So for accountability is important for the cook to know that I've been paid to feed 100 and this 100 are adequately fed. That is just it, to account for what you have done and to make sure it is also transparent enough. That's why it's important.
Okay. Now, the homegrown school feeding program has a number of stakeholders involved. So how would you rate the cooperation and participation of all the stakeholders involved in the homegrown school feeding program operation?
I would say impressive.
From the cooks to the students, to the government, to the parents.
The government ensured even before we started, we had a meeting with the government in 2017. We had actors from the federal and state government. We had a dialogue. And then the Ministry of Social Duties on the state front, they ensured a soft landing for us because you can't just penetrate into schools and start to ask about data, enrollment, and all those things. Nobody will listen to you. So they gave us introduction letters. They briefed the education secretaries even before our arrival, and it was pretty good. On the part of our community actors too, I would say they have tried. They have even gone as far as sensitize other people, and they told us that if we have other people that are also interested, they are willing and equal to the task to bring them aboard and train them, have them then introduce them to the school authorities so they can
Right.
start working together too.
Now, specifically the parents, how would you rate their own, involvement, their collaboration, their cooperation, their participation in the program?
Well, for the parents we have engaged, I would say they have tried a lot. I told you that they organized sensitization exercises in their communities. They went through community development associations, they went to mosques, they went to churches, and even marketplaces in Abeokuta North, Ikene, Imekwafo, and Odeda local government. So those are the 4 local governments where Wokon works. And these people went to the local their communities to sensitize other people because they have been trained and retrained a couple of times. And we meet with them quarterly to discuss findings and to also share experiences. We have to bring them together, knowing that they work in different places, some in the urban, some in the rural areas. So we bring them together so they can share experiences. Sometimes we don't want to prefer solutions when we see something because it is a community-centered approach that we've employed.
Right.
So when you see something that is not right in your community, we bring in people from other communities. So we ask them, I think you had this issue in your community the last month. How did you handle this? And they've been working together well. I'll say they have tried. And also today, after this program, in fact, as we speak now, my colleagues are at the venue. We are training some of them to use the tracker.
The parents?
Yes, some of the parents to use the school feeding tracker. One of the organizations in our cohort, ActionNet Incorporated, has designed a platform, an online platform where you can capture data from schools and upload for program implementers to make decisions on those data. So we are training some of them so they can now retrain other people as a way of
It's a
ensuring
domino effect.
sustainability.
So as accountability partners now, what efforts has Wokon put into ensuring accountability in this since 2018? You came on stream in 2018, right?
Yes.
So what are these efforts that you put in place?
When we started with a baseline evaluation in March 2018 because for any project you have to know what is on ground, you have to know the perception of people. You can't just walk into any community without knowing what their perception is about the project you're working on. Then after that, we went to schools and we spoke with the head teachers with the letters we got from the ministry. Then they gave us parents that are willing. We made it sure that we don't want to force anybody. This is not a task that we are paying for. It is something that we want them to do voluntarily because of their love for children and because they have a stake in this. So they gave us some like to monitor. We ensure that they were that. At the baseline too, we did some focus group discussions with mother to know what their opinion is about the program. Then after that, we started training them on different areas, on the usage of our tools, because we have the cohort design tools that we were using. We had one where we monitored the activities of the cook. Then we have one where we monitor how many children got fed, whether the cook dressed properly, whether it's hygienic and other things. Up till now, we've had more than 15 engagements with our community monitors because we meet quarterly to discuss issues and what have we found on the field, how can this be improved. Also, we engaged cooks. We trained them on hygiene, on how to behave properly, because at the inception we had few issues with some people. You know, people are not the same. Some people are naturally combative.
Right.
So we engage cooks, we engage health teachers, we engage ed teachers, the education secretaries and desk officers, and we are still doing that, and we'll still be doing that today even after the program.
So when you see issues or when you are able to identify certain concerns, how do you scale up? And when you scale up, do you see changes from all of the parties involved at the end of the day?
Okay. Most times when we get data, for our cook evaluation form, it's in triplicate. We give a copy to the school, we have a copy, and we submit one to the education office, the local government education office. For the one we get for our office, we collate them and we write a report. Also, we meet regularly with program implementers, that's the Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs. At this meetings, we tell them, okay, these are the issues we have found out on the field, and these are our recommendation as to how you might want to treat them. And they always sweet to answer. That is the formal part. And sometimes some issues might not be able to wait till the next meeting. You can just put a call through or walk into the office and let them know this is what is happening in this area, and they're always strict to comment.
All right, when you came on board in 2018, I mean, you spoke about the baseline evaluation. What was the perceived opinion of the community people, the parents or beneficiaries? Their hostility, was there resentment, was there doubt? What was the perceived opinion, and how has it grown between then? Has there been a change between what you met, the perspective when you came on, and now?
At inception, I told you we did focus group discussion. Some mothers said they don't know what the intention of government is about this food, but one thing is sure, most of them, almost 95% of them said they liked it, that they were in support because it was helping them. So most people feel like the feeding is something that we are just wasting money on, but when you walk to the grassroots, you see how bad poverty is in some places, where people send their 4-year-old to school in the morning, and they start feeling sick, and you find out that it's not even sickness or anything, it is just hunger. They attested to the fact that the feeding was helping them or saving them money. But the only problem we saw was they were skeptical about it because they felt like they were not carried enough, they were not properly briefed about it. So they were uninvolved. They weren't doing so much, and most of them just said, I don't want to, it's a government thing, it's for this political party, and we don't want to be part of it. It's because they lack information. So that is why we started our radio jingles on OGBC and some other radio stations, and we started engaging community. Also come aboard if you're interested.
So how has that changed? Have you seen a change in those doubts about, their reservations about not being carried along? Has that changed between 2018 and now?
Yes, because the first engagements we had with the monitors in June 2018, most of them also said they don't want to be a part of it. So we made them understand that this is how the money comes. It comes from the federal, goes through this, it goes through that, and this is how it gets to your child. And this is the part you have to play in this. Now they understand that we are partners in ensuring that this program is well implemented, and now their opinion about it have changed, and so is the opinion of some people in their community, because at our end-line evaluation we went into communities, we went further than even the people that we have trained, to go into just random people in the community to see what they know about it, and we were surprised at the results that we got.
Corruption has always been a challenge in Nigeria, especially when it comes to the things of government. Sometimes people say it's national cake, let's eat it, so to say. So as regards this as well, even on previous engagements when you come for your monthly program like this, some callers have also talked about how they don't feel that the process is as transparent as it should be. So there are two sets of people that are important in this regard. The cooks, because they get the supplies, they bring the food. If they get supplies for 100 people and then they only bring for 50, the school authorities as well. If these two collude somehow, they could eventually shortchange the children. So how accountable would you say these two sets of stakeholders are in this process?
Well, on the part of the school authorities, the only thing is anything that happens in the school, the head of the school is responsible. Then there's a teacher attached to this feeding, that is the health teacher that monitors the feeding to see if the food, the quantity is enough, and to check the quality of the food before they are sent to the pupils. It is accountable in the sense that for a cook, you already have a text message on the number of pupils you are going to feed. So you cannot bring a quantity that is lesser than that, because the teacher monitors to see that you serve 70, for example, 70 bowls. If you have been assigned to feed 70, you have to serve 70 bowls. That is accountability on my part. They don't provide the protein, but sometimes they might say they have some issues and hiccups in picking protein. To me, I would say it's accountable enough, it's transparent enough, But when we came, some people are naturally deviant. They said a lot of things, and we made them understand that even if the president is the person you knew personally, I'm sure the president also wants this to work. So because of that, you just have to do what you've been paid for. And if you want to opt out, you can always go back to the implementers and say, I'm tired of this job.
When a cook is supposed to supply or feed 70 children, and then maybe in school on that day we had 50 children, of course, you understand that there might be things that come up, maybe a child is sick. So what happens there?
For excesses, they serve them to other pupils because you are not allowed to take food back to your house as a cook. So once you are fed, let's not forget that we are feeding primary. They're feeding primary 1 to 3.
Okay.
So after feeding primary 1 to 3, if you still have excesses, you can choose to feed primary 4 as the head teacher directs. That is what happens. The only thing is you cannot take it back home because you have been paid for that food, and some other people must benefit one way or the other.
It sounds like you've covered every loophole. Okay, so what roles have parents themselves played in promoting accountability in the homegrown school feeding program?
Like I said before, we have trained them. We train them to use our monitoring tools. No, we are training on Tracker today because it's a new platform that one of the organizations in our cohort came with, and we saw that it was a good thing because it takes information directly to implementers, and they can now make decisions based on the things they can see.
Doesn't it require data? Is it not?
Yes, it requires data, and but we have taken that into consideration. You can actually capture the data and do some of the imputing before you put your data on. By the time we were done with costing, we saw that with 215 naira data, you can capture for 1 month. Because we have accountability boards in school. The accountability board takes data from Monday to Friday. What you do with the tracker is you now go on Friday to impute those data. You take a picture of the board, you take a number of the pupils that were fed for that week, then you upload. It means while you were imputing all those things, you might do it with your data off. Then when you are done and you are ready to post, you can just switch your data on, post in less than 15 seconds, and you're good to go.
Let's proceed on a very quick commercial break to take some messages from the Women Consortium of Nigeria. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Splash FM 106.7.
Kule, e be like say that thing wey dem dey talk that time not true. Shinde don die. Dem even talk say COVID-19 na im kill am. We wey dey join body leave the house nko. I don die o.
I never die o. I been tell you before. You dey do like phone wey not getting network. You say na rich people disease. Pipe low. Take here marry correct information now. First of all, una for the house go do social distance. Can't go quarantine for 14 days to know who don magnet the disease. If you can't see person, wey catch am, call LCDC. The disease get severe and na headache, hot body pain, dry cough, cold body, sneeze, plus make una no fit treat well. For now, dey clean wella. Wear face mask. If your hand fit touch your neighbor, you too close to get 2 meters so same boat come up for where dey. Con dey vigilant well. This message na waka come from Women Consortium of Nigeria, Ogun State Homegrown School Feeding Program with support from MacArthur Foundation.
àǹtí mi ìṣọwọ́ fọwọ́ ilẹ̀ ẹnìjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí máa wà nílé gbà kan sí kí ló dé.
àbúrò irẹ́ ló ń sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí ṣé o gbọ́ gbogbo nǹkan tó ń lọ nílùú ni coronavirus tó ń fa àjàkálẹ̀ àrùn covid-19 kò má tí ì lóògùn coronavirus á máa wọnú ara láti ojú imú àti ẹnu àrùn yìí á máa fa ẹ̀fọ́rí ara gbígbóná ara ríro ikọ́ gbígbẹ òtútù kásín àti ká má lè mí dáadáa ó ṣeé ṣe kí ó tó ọjọ́ 5 sí 14 kí àpẹẹrẹ àrùn yìí ó tó hàn jáde lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí ìmọ́tótó ká wọ ìbòjú bomú àti kí ara ó jìnnà tí ara máa lóògùn ẹ̀ ṣe ìrántí láti fọwọ́ rẹ pẹ̀lú ọṣẹ àti omi ní gbogbo ìgbà tí o bá fi ọwọ́ kan nǹkan tàbí tí o fẹ́ jẹun má ṣe fi ọwọ́ kan ojú àti imú rẹ wọ ìbòjú bomú rẹ kí o tún jáde ní ilé kí o sì wọ ìbọ̀wọ́ pẹ̀lú ṣe àkíyèsí sí i má ṣe súnmọ́ ẹnikẹ́ni rí i wípé bí kàkà mẹ́ta wà láàrin ìwọ àti ẹnikẹ́ni ní gbogbo ìgbà. ìkéde yìí wá láti ilé-iṣẹ́ Women Consortium of Nigeria WOCOM Ogun State Homegrown School Feeding Program pẹ̀lú àtìlẹ́yìn MacArthur Foundation.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
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 Panorama. Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Welcome back. We still have our friends from the Women Consortium of Nigeria here with us, themselves supported by the MacArthur Foundation. And every third Tuesday, in case you are joining us for the first time on a day like this and you're wondering what we're doing on Panorama this morning, every third Tuesday we have a friend from the Women Consortium of Nigeria. And today we're talking about parents as accountability partners in the homegrown school feeding program. We have the program officer of the Women Consortium of Nigeria, BC Olaunipekun, with us here. So let's talk about the actual roles that parents have played so far in ensuring accountability. I know we've talked about monitoring and a number of things, but are there other roles that they also play to ensure that this process is as seamless as possible?
Parents, as I said before, they do sensitization activities. Apart from the fact that they are foot soldiers in all those communities, they conduct sensitization activities in communities, and they give us real-time reports on what has happened. Then during the lockdown too, they also worked with us. We had 2 activities during the lockdown. We had the take-home ration, the distribution of the take-home ration of the school feeding, where parents were going home with sacks. They ensured that they worked with the ministry, because by the time we started working with them, the ministry also coopted them into that activity. They helped to identify beneficiaries for that process. We also monitored in most of the distribution centers in our local governments. So I'll say they have been helping us so far. And the reason we have chosen a community-centered or community-focused approach is because we know that usually our projects are always have a stipulated duration. For example, this is a 4-year thing. We've been on this for the past 4 years. So when we leave, we want a system that is sustainable. That is why we co-opted them into it from the start, so that when we leave, we can still continue and hold the fort.
I'm sure you must have encountered some challenges during your monitoring exercise in schools. What are some of the challenges you've encountered, and from which corner have they mostly stemmed? Whose part?
The first one I'll say is the entitlement, and I think that is one of the things that is fueling corruption in our
Entitlement
society.
From who? The parents, the students?
From most people. Generally, everybody is entitled. They feel government, even some people feel like government should assign people to come and sweep their rooms in their houses. On the part of the cooks, they'll say this is government money and I know how I got here, and entitlement is a problem that I've encountered in this, of being able to disabuse the minds of some other people, or some people will still not want to change no matter what you do. Then I also know that people are scared of asking for information on the part of our community monitors, because some of our monitoring templates have questions on asking a cook for how much you got. And people will tell you, I don't want to ask. Why would I ask her? I don't want problem. The woman lives on my street. I know her husband. I don't want to be the one to spoil her job and all those other things. Then people are always scared to say the truth. Even when they see what is not right, they will say, yes, I saw it, but I don't want to be the one to get this person out of her job. So those are the challenges that I've encountered, and I think it's musically based on attitudes and a value system.
But is this not a potential challenge if, since all of these vendors are also drawn from the community, I believe? So if I have a relationship with one of them, and then I'm a monitor, maybe in the school where the person is attacked, don't you think there might be some
Friction?
friction?
In the schools where we monitor, we have up to 3 monitors. So you can't be related to all 3 monitors assigned to your school. Then secondly, we made them understand that, because people come up with excuses. There was a time a cook told us she wasn't going to feed because she lost her son or she lost her daughter. You have lost your child. We are sorry about that, but you can't starve other people's children because you lost your child. So all those other things, you can't be related to all 3 of them. Even if one of them is culpable, the 2 other people will expose you. And then the school authority is also there. The head teacher is the one in charge, and they report what they see. And we also send reports to the education authority in that local government.
So if you have conflicting reports, who is your most trusted authority? Say there is a report from the head teacher, for instance. There is another from the parents, who is also a monitor, and maybe some other monitors. If there are conflicting areas of maybe a particular issue, and then maybe two of them are saying different things. So how do you resolve that?
We would first get to our own foot soldiers, the community monitors. Then we'll confirm with the education authority because they get reports too. And sometimes they are the one that have the power to say you can't serve this food today, or you have to bring this back tomorrow, or you have to bring the balance of this food tomorrow. So we confirm with them. Then we would also hear from our monitors because they go into schools from time to time, and we told them specifically that you don't have to make it a pattern. Don't let cooks know you are always coming on Monday. You can always go in at any time. So there are 3 of them attached to schools. Some schools we have 2. But I think that's the list we have in our schools. So if a monitor comes on Monday, you can't be sure of when the next person is coming in. So we can trust reports from our monitors because they understand our templates and we've trained them to do it right.
I want to go back to the challenges that you mentioned you encountered during the monitoring process, in sense of entitlements, those who are scared to ask for information, those who are scared to tell the truth for fear of damaging a relationship they have with one of the actors. You mentioned that you overcame this challenge, but how? How do you... The entitlement you mentioned, yes, we see sometimes Nigerians, in as much as they have a right to ask for things that are due to them as citizens, but sometimes they blame everything on government even when they themselves are culpable. But how do you work past this? How do you... It's like a mindset thing. So how do you get past how do you get them to no longer, to realize that some of these things are, they're asking for too much? And maybe for those who are afraid to tell the truth or fear of damaging their relationship, how do you convince them that telling the truth is more important? And then those scared to ask for information as well, how do you get past these challenges?
Okay, usually at our engagements with our stakeholders, our trainings are primarily supposed to be on constructive engagement, transparency, accountability, and community participation. But to go further, we do trainings on attitudes and some other things just to disabuse their mind. And because we are a women and children-focused organization, sometimes we do trainings on child protection.
Right.
We know that these have worked because apart from the school feeding program, we have also seen and captured results in other areas of the communal living. Some people have spread the things they have learned to other areas in their communities, and we have seen changes. For example, in one of our schools in Abeokuta North, the school it's a great school, but infrastructures are kind of bad. Some of our monitors, with the help of other parents, called in the old students association and everybody to come and renovate a part of their school. For me, that is success. At least now, from people we met in a point of, I don't want to go there, I don't want to spoil anybody's handiwork, I don't want to say this, to now getting proactive to do things like that. I feel like it's a great one for us and we have done well.
Right. Okay. What roles does the parents' monitoring exercise play in ensuring accountability?
Yeah, monitoring provides us with real-time information because we can't be on the spot at every time. Sometimes when there's a slight change in the timetable, even before we get information, they call us to say, I got to my school this morning and this is what I heard. So they give us real-time reports, then they make data available to us because of the roles they play. They make data available, so we have data to work on. Then also they help to ensure the wellness of the overall service delivery. So that is the roles they have played for us, and we do not take them for granted.
We've talked a lot about monitors, but aside from the parents and perhaps the teachers, who are the monitors?
The monitors comprise of parents from that school. Some might be members of the school-based monitoring committee, the SPMC, Parent-Teacher Association, where we ensured that there was a mother in every of our schools as an improvement from what we got at the focus group discussion we had with mothers at the inception. We made sure that a woman was in the team because we noticed that when we were telling them to give us some people that are willing, most people came out as men. So we said we wanted the presence of the mothers. So in every school, we ensured that there was a woman attached. And in some schools, we have 3 women that are active and doing well. In some schools, we have 2 women to a man. but we ensured that it was balanced. So that those are the people that constitute our monitors. Those are the people that we have trained. We ensured that they were people that can go into the school. They can just walk into somebody that is staying far away from the school. Then they'll give us the excuse of, I cannot monitor because my house is not too close to the school. And we ensured they were willing because we made them know at the inception that this is a voluntary thing, this is a community service, and we are not going to be paying anybody for this. We are doing it for the children and for the betterment of the community.
So were there checks done when after these volunteers decided to team up the work on? Were there some other checks that were done?
That we did for them. Yes, we ensured that they were lettered to some extent, because so that they can be able to administer our tools and questionnaires when we take them out. Because there's no point training people who cannot go into the school and do the spot check. You have to check that the cook is well dressed. You have to check the number that was fed in primary 3. How many of them are male? How many of them are females? So we ensured that they were lettered and learned to some extent, so that they can give quality data.
All right, we're still speaking with the program officer for Walk On. She is Bisi Olanipepo, and she's talking to us this morning about parents as accountability partners in the homegrown school feeding program. The homegrown school feeding program has been ongoing for nearly 4 years. More than 4 years now. Yes, and this is giving us information about the role of parents as accountability partners in that. Remember that if you have a question, a comment, anything you want to say about this topic and all that has been said so far by BC, you can drop us a comment on WhatsApp 0817 555 1067, Facebook where we're streaming live, Splash FM 106.7. We'll also open phone lines if you'd like to verbally ask your question or make your comment. Now, BC, let's talk about the relevance of Walk-On's accountability engagement to the stakeholders. I like that bit you mentioned about, the parents and who is it again that teamed up to ask the Old Students Association to renovate the school. I'm sure that's one of the relevance of, Walk-On's accountability engagement to the stakeholders. But what are some of the other relevance of your accountability engagement to stakeholders?
I would say it has improved information about this project. It has also helped to get quality information and data. Then it has also helped to put actors on their toes. Now they know they are accountable and people are actually watching, and they just have to do the right thing. You don't have a choice. For unexpected outcome of the things that we have seen, apart from that scenario of the renovation of the school, in some of our local government, somewhere in Odeda, community monitors stood up and went to some people in the community to say, okay, we have a water problem in this community. How can we get together? And I was surprised that in 3 months they were able to erect a borehole that is running and working now somewhere in Odeda local government.
Wow.
So we take the training deeper than just homegrown school feeding, accountability, and all those other things. Because we also understand the fact that we are building the foundation for ourselves. We might not know we might have any other project in the community. At least we can say that on the part of constructive engagement and community participation, these people understand what is expected of them. And when we have subsequent projects, we can now build on this to engage them. Then for school-based actors, they have ensured effectiveness and collaboration with others. Because the reason why we were happy at the start was we saw some challenges when we came in. But most of them were just on misinformation or a breakdown in communication or misunderstandings. So we also engaged the head teacher and health teacher for dialogues. They told us what they have seen and the reason why some actors are not cooperating. Then we also engaged them in how they can make communication better, they can ensure transparency. And we were shocked that even in some of our schools, some of the head teachers we have trained came up with other strategies to get information. Some people co-opted the children to come and write feedback because they've been complaining. For example, they've been complaining that this cook has not been doing well. And the cook feels like it is a personal thing. It is because this teacher does not like my face. So she brought out a notebook and said, every time you feed, I will call in some of the people you have fed, especially pupils in primary 3, they can write to some extent. Then she will call them in and say, how did you see this woman's food? you ate from this person, write whatever it is down. And she will call another, because that particular who cannot read, she will call another senior student from maybe primary 6 to say, come and read this to her and make her understand. Okay, this is what the children have said about your food. They keep the pupil anonymous so that there won't be any cost or anything. And then they had to adjust, because she said, this notebook, I'm submitting it to the LGA, and they would know that I didn't write this myself, so that you don't feel like this is personal to you. So to us, I think all of those things are good things, because it means that the people we are engaging, we are not just wasting money, they are also changing, and our program is going as it should.
So I want to take us back a bit. If I have children in a school where this program is activated, and I'm not a part of the voluntary monitors, so I visit the school one of the days and I see something I miss as regards this program. What are the channels? What channels do I have to maybe lodge a complaint or maybe reports or whatever it is that I want to pass across?
Well, we made sure that our monitors engaged other members of the PTA. Every school have PTA meeting, maybe once a term or sometimes twice as the situation arises. So those people know them that these people are for homegrown. They can report it to them, and those ones understand. We told them that this is something of the government. You don't just jump protocol. When you see something that is wrong, you report first to the health teacher, the teacher attached. Then health teacher takes it to our own head teacher. Health teachers are mostly females. Then the head teacher can now report it to the education secretary. That is the line of reporting. But sometimes we drop our numbers for work on office. They call us directly to say, in this so-so school, because there was a time we were on air like this and somebody called in to say, this is homegrown school feeding you were talking about. People are getting money for it. People are asking pupils to bring money for it. Then we went back to the school, and to our surprise, even before we left this place, the program implementers has even reached out to the school. It was just misinformation, and the person was actually talking about those old cooks that wear the blue uniform. Those ones are selling the food. So most times when we get information, they can call us directly. They can talk to the community monitors attached to their schools, and for schools that are not part of our project schools, they can walk to the health teacher to report this.
Okay, apart from the homegrown school feeding program, we'll talk about other aspects of the school system that needs proper monitoring and accountability check, but that will be after this commercial break, where we'll listen to a message or two from the people of Wakon as supported by the MacArthur Foundation.
Splash FM 106.7.
My people, no doubt you've been hearing of the Homegrown School Feeding Program, an initiative of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration to support states in feeding over 24 million pupils in public primary schools across the Federation. Yes, the program has started in Ogun State with provision of free nutritional meals for primary 1 to 3 pupils in all the 20 local governments from Monday to Friday. Ogun State government is doing its best in making sure the program is a huge success and beneficial to the pupils, the farmers who supply protein and other foodstuffs, and the caterers who can serve it to the children. The program is not a community feeding project and not for some people to enrich themselves. Please do your part in ensuring that this program is a success. If you suspect any wrongdoing anywhere concerning the Homegrown School Feeding Program in Ogun State, please call 0803-334-7896. Let's work together to ensure smooth, credible, and efficient systems. This message was brought to you courtesy of Women Consortium of Nigeria, WOCAN, with support from MacArthur Foundation.
àǹtí mi ìṣọwọ́ fọwọ́ ilẹ̀ ẹ̀rìnjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí máa wà nílé kan sí kí ló dé.
àbúrò irọ́ ló ń sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí ṣé o gbọ́ gbogbo nǹkan tó ń lọ nílùú ni coronavirus tó ń fa àjàkálẹ̀ àrùn covid-19 kò má tí ì lóògùn coronavirus a máa wọnú ara láti ojú imú àti ẹnu àrùn yẹn a máa fa ẹ̀fọ́rí ara gbígbóná ara ríro ikọ́ gbígbẹ òtútù kásí àti ká má lè mí dáadáa ó ṣeé ṣe kí ó tó ọjọ́ 5 sí 14 kí àpẹẹrẹ àrùn yìí ó tó hàn jáde lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí ìmọ́tótó ká wọ ìbòjú bomú àti kí ara ó jìnnà tí ara máa lo òògùn ẹ̀ ṣe ìrántí láti fọwọ́ rẹ pẹ̀lú ọṣẹ àti omi ní gbogbo ìgbà tí o bá fi ọwọ́ kan nǹkan tàbí tí o fẹ́ jẹun má ṣe fi ọwọ́ kan ojú àti imú rẹ wọ ìbòjú bomú rẹ kí o tún jáde ní ilé kí o sì wọ ìbọ̀wọ́ pẹ̀lú ṣe àkíyèsí sí i má ṣe súnmọ́ ẹnikẹ́ni rí i wípé bí kàkà mẹ́ta wà láàrin ìwọ àti ẹnikẹ́ni ní gbogbo ìgbà. ìkéde yìí wá láti ilé-iṣẹ́ Women Consortium of Nigeria WOCOM Ogun State Homegrown School Feeding Program pẹ̀lú àtìlẹ́yìn MacArthur Foundation.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
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 Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Welcome back to the program. We still have the Women Consortium of Nigeria here with us, and we'll also open up the phone lines as we continue this conversation. So in case you want to weigh in case you have some comments, maybe you've been to some schools and you really like Wokon to take up a number of issues, well, now will be the time to let us know and let the Women Consortium of Nigeria know as well. The phone lines to be a part of the program: 0704 400 1067, 0817 444 1067, 0817 555 1067. That doubles as the WhatsApp portal as well.
I was asking before we went on that break, what other aspects of the school system needs proper monitoring or accountability checks apart from the homegrown school feeding program?
Every aspect of the school system needs it. Like we say when we are engaging the mothers for child protection, we say start accountability from the home front so that you don't get difficult when you get to the community and society.
All right.
Every aspect of the school, from enrollment to welfareism to the structures, every needs it. So that is my opinion on that, because I don't want to say I'm mentioning this part and this part should be left out. There's no area in the school system that does not need accountability, because it will improve effectiveness and efficiency in that area.
I must ask, when you reel out data on, say, the number of children you fed, how do you get this data? Because I find that Nigerians are generally distrustful when you give them numbers. We say we fed 1 million children, they're like, but you know, the ones in my streets, I didn't hear anything about it. So how do you get this data? Can you trust the source? And do people know the methods, the methodology involved in getting the data, so that they can know to trust the data when you release the data?
For us, we get data from the field. As they are feeding, we go into the school. For somebody like me, I work in the Kenya local government, and on days when I have to go for monitoring, I go to all 5 towns in the Kenya local government, going to one school from one school to the other. I know that a cook is going to be around from 9 a.m. I know that feeding will not happen until around 11. So I wait till they feed, and I get to primary 1, for example, and do an head count of how many they fed for that day. I do that like once in a week to different schools, so that when they bring in data, I can know if I can trust that data or it is not correct. You know, on some days like Mondays, Tuesdays, there's always a good number in school. On Fridays, some people are already in the weekend mood, and the population is usually shorter. So I walk to schools on different days, then I collate those data, and then I check for myself to see. Apart from our monitoring tool, we should also not forget that the ministry themselves, they do the monitoring. Then even the federal government, through the National Bureau of Statistics, also walk into schools from time to time to do an head count. So that's how we know we can trust this data, because all this data, they get to us one way or the other, and we confirm them against what we have to see if these people are truly saying the truth or they're just manufacturing figures from wherever.
Between the urban centers and the rural areas, where has been most challenging as regards monitoring and accountability?
Of course, in rural areas. Because we have areas in Odeda and Abeokuta North that are not so easy to reach. So because of that, sometimes you might not be able to move about like you can do in some areas. For example, if you're monitoring in the rural part of the Abeokuta North, you can know that, okay, if I time myself well, I can go to this number of schools for this time. But for other places like the rural areas, or for somebody that is monitoring in the Mekwafu, you cannot say the same, because you don't control some things, you don't control a lot of things that happen on the road. So I would say the rural area is
more of a challenge. All right, well, call us up and ask your question or make your comment on parents as accountability partners in the homegrown school feeding program. Perhaps you're a concerned parent, perhaps you're a general observer and there's something about the homegrown school feeding program that you'd like to pass a comment on, do let us know, and let us know what you'd like to say. Bisiolani Peko, remember, is the program officer for Women Consortium of Nigeria, and they are an NGO that's heavily involved in the homegrown school feeding program. The number to call is 0817 444 1067, 0704 400 1067, 0817 555 1067. Good morning. Good morning. What's your name? Oh, apologies. Do try and call us back. We have 3 numbers. Just as soon as you call, make your question or say your question or make your comment, and BC is here to answer those comments or questions that you have. But I believe, she's been very explanatory about all the processes involved in the homegrown school feeding program and how instrumental accountability is to the program from all the stakeholders involved. And now, what should parents improve on in their accountability efforts?
Parents, I'll say, they need to change in their attitude, because we can recall a situation that happened during one of the deworming exercises. We went into the communities to misinform people, and everybody tried to bring to school to withdraw their work to say, I don't want them to give my child that tablets. They don't know what the tablets is for. So to me, I would say they should have a change in their attitude, and they should ask questions from necessary people, not just somebody that is walking about in the communities. Go to the school, ask the head teacher. I'm sure no head teacher will want anything back to before the learners he has been assigned to take care of. Then also I want them to improve on proactiveness. They should learn to constructively engage with government for projects domiciled in their communities. So that's my advice for parents on how they can improve on accountability. And lastly, they should make accountability something to invite from the home, so that it doesn't get from their own. We tell them when they come to our meetings that we know everybody says the government is corrupt, but even on our part from our homes, are we accountable? Are you accountable to your spouse?
Or even your children?
To make your children even accountable, you just look away and then you feel like some things are not important, because those things actually count. They add up, and before you know it, becomes a habit that is so hard to tame.
So do you think that part of why we get the parents is because sometimes government policies are not detailed enough, they are not spread out enough, people do not understand them, people do not assimilate them? You have employed a community-based approach, but sometimes government policies are just dropped right from the top, and then government expects people to just accept them. So do you think that part of this attitude stems from years of mistrust and government not doing enough to sensitize people when programs like this come up?
Well, I feel like generally we have good policies. When you pick up any policy document, you look at it and then not in agreement to say, well, this is beautiful, but implementation is actually very difficult, sometimes because of logistics and other issues. But every time we have an engagement, we always recommend to government, and I think we took our recommendation at some point, because as I said before, during the take-home ration, we were even surprised to see that already the government has a list of community actors that they are engaging that are different from the ones we are engaging. And these community actors, a few of them we know, we spoke with them, and they were happy to work with the government on that, and they did a great job. Because on the day of monitoring, for example, when we Kenya local government, it rained out, and there was no distribution center I got to where the monitor was absent. So it means that even before knowing whether you paid, or they were willing to volunteer. So I would just like to say that apart from the beautiful policy documents we have, we should work on how to make this easy to comprehend for a layman in the street or in the communities.
Now, you've said how the homegrown school feeding program is combating hunger, particularly for some people who are impoverished, who send their wards or their children to school without breakfast or lunch. But time and again, we hear of citizens pass comments on this homegrown school feeding program, saying that they don't see the need for it, that it's just a waste of money, the government could do this and that instead. When the homegrown school feeding program was being created, do you think that government, or from to the best of your knowledge, did government ask the people what they want? Because sometimes, there's a case of this is what we think is best for you versus what the people actually think is best for them or what the people actually want. Is that something that you've observed? Do the people, are there other needs that they want that, perhaps they would prefer attention be directed to that as opposed to the homegrown school feeding program? Do the parents ask for the homegrown school feeding program?
Well, I would like to make this confession that before I got on board, I also felt what's the need to feed.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was going on the field, I noticed that first, the teaching profession is much more than a profession, it's a calling. Because when the feeding was going on, they were getting fed. There was a particular scenario that somebody was relating just as a joke. A particular learner didn't come to school, and the learner's house was very close to the school. He wasn't in school, they already marked attendance, he was absent. Then immediately cited the food vendor, the homegrown school cook. The learner came to school just to have a taste of that food. That is by the side. Sometimes I go into school when feeding is not ongoing. For this session, but I was just concluded, we fed for 7 weeks. Just 7 weeks, that's the third term. Because of some logistics and everything from the federal. I would say that sometimes we don't have government. The problem that government is trying to combat, we don't necessarily want to have government come and ask us what we want. The problem they were trying to combat is the fact that we have out-of-school children, and this feeding was a way of bringing them into school, because most of them are out of school because their parents feel, I can't be feeding you to go to school.
Right.
You can be better on the farm helping me so we can feed the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the problem that the government is trying to combat. I would say that the homegrown school feeding has played its part because it's increased enrollment, and that it has done a lot for these parents, because we can't just sit here in the urban areas and say this is not working when people really need the food in rural communities and families are so impoverished.
As we wrap up now, what is your advice as regards the homegrown school feeding program and to parents, of course, and as regards accountability as well?
For parents, I would say they should learn to also do some things. Like I said, some people want government to do everything. Government cannot do everything. Sometimes when I go on the field to do spot checks and they tell me about some issues, I regard some issues as non-issues. There was the time I was in a school and somebody told me there are no spoons. The plastic spoon probably costs less than 20 naira. The government is doing so much to feed your child. Why should you not be able to provide a less than 20 naira plastic spoon for feeding? Or they tell me about bowls. So one day a woman came up to me and told me that, and I jokingly asked her, I'm sure that in some of the parties we've attended, they might have given you a bowl that looks like the one you are trying to describe. Why not bring it to the school and contribute that to this feeding? So I would like to tell them to also get active and not expect government to do everything. Even if government is bringing the money to do this feeding, you should also ensure that government's money is well, because there's nothing to gain when your children are deprived and the program is not going as it should.
All right. Well, that's all that we have.
Well, on Facebook, Santeri and Akinla around to me just saying good morning and good job. Say regards to the guest in the house. Just saying hello to you.
All right, that's about it regarding parents as accountability partners in the homegrown school feeding program. And this discussion would not have been possible without the involvement of C. Olani Pekon, who is the Program Officer for Women Consortium of Nigeria, WACON, as supported by the MacArthur Foundation in this venture that comes about every third Tuesday of the month. Lizzie, thank you very much for your participation today.
Thank you for having me.
Even though it took months to get you to finally, sit, and you did a splendid job as well. All right, well, that's about it. We're going to listen to a few more messages regarding this until the next third Tuesday of September, where the people of WACON will be back again. My name is Lola Meduteni. I'll see you on the other side.
Splash FM 106.7.
My people, I sure say you for don hear about the homegrown school feeding program. Now, ogbonge initiative for President Muhammadu Buhari administration, where they give all the states them inside to give food to over 24 million children for public primary school. Wait and that for Niger. As you know, Ogun State not they carry last. We don't start the program free correct me. Now we they give primary 1 to 3 pupils for the 20 local government area from Monday go reach Friday. Ogun State government now they do every to make sure say success plus benefit follow our children plus farmers where they provide the correct food. Them. Make we not come forget the caterers. Now, open your ear. The program not be community feeding project and e no day for some people to collect money for them pocket. Now here it concern you. The government now need your help to see say not only our children then they feed with the program wella. If you suspect any kolobi or e play on top the homegrown school feeding program, do hello on top
0803-334-7896.
This message now from Women Consortium of Nigeria with collabo from MacArthur Foundation.
ẹ̀yin ará ẹ ti máa gbọ́ nípa ètò homegrown school feeding program tíjọba ààrẹ Muhammadu Buhari ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ rẹ̀ láti máa fún lé ní mílíọ̀nù 24 àwọn ọmọ akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nílẹ̀ ẹ̀kọ́ alákọ̀ọ́bẹ̀rẹ̀ ti ìjọba káàkiri orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ní oúnjẹ ọ̀fẹ́. bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ètò náà ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn níbi tó ti máa fún gbogbo ọmọ akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ tó wà ní ìpele kìíní sí ìkẹta ní oúnjẹ ọ̀fẹ́ ìyẹn ní gbogbo ilé ẹ̀kọ́ alákọ̀ọ́bẹ̀rẹ̀ ti ìjọba tó wà ní gbogbo ìjọba ìbílẹ̀ Ògùn ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn. ètò yìí yóò máa wáyé ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ajé Monday sọ́jọ́ ẹtì Friday ní gbogbo ọ̀sẹ̀. yàtọ̀ sí wípé ètò yìí yóò ṣe àwọn akẹ́kọ̀ọ́ yìí láǹfààní ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn tó ti sa gbogbo akitiyan rẹ̀ láti fi ètò yìí ṣe kóríyá fún àwọn àgbẹ̀ àtàwọn olóúnjẹ tí yóò máa pèsè àwọn oúnjẹ wọ̀nyí fún àwọn ògo wẹrẹ wa. ẹ wá gbọ́ o ìjọba ò gbé ètò yìí kalẹ̀ láti bọ́ gbogbo aráàlú o tàbí láti fi ààyè fún ẹnikẹ́ni láti lo àǹfààní yìí ìwà àjẹbánu. nítorí ìdí èyí ìjọba nílò ìrànlọ́wọ́ gbogbo aráàlú. tẹ́ bá wá rí ẹnikẹ́ni tó hùwà tó kù díẹ̀ káàtó láti di ètò yìí ẹ dákun ẹ pe ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 0803-334-7896. ìkéde yìí wá látọ̀dọ̀ àjọ Women Consortium of Nigeria WOCON pẹ̀lú àtìlẹ́yìn MacArthur Foundation.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Welcome back to Panorama. We're set to hit the second segment of the show now, which is from the pages, where we take a look at the pages of the newspapers. I have with me here the Punch newspaper, and you're still on to Splash 106.7 FM. Abeokuta, we are the Integrity Station, and my name is Bulika. Olani, thank you so much for staying there.
I have Nigerian Tribune.
And I'll start with some of the headlines from the Punch newspaper, quite a number of them. Buhari signing of PIB petrol may sell for 300 naira. Federal government to decide on subsidy. Others today. With 3 riders, signing of PIB has ended fuel subsidy. Market forces to determine price, said oil marketers. Another rider says the minister will tell Nigerians the next step today. This according to an aide. The third one said OPEC and 80 others applaud new law. More headlines, 7 died. Taliban renames country Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Wow. This is, I'm not sure we all saw this coming so soon. All right, Super TV CEO family accuses Lagos police of cover-up, hires OZ Kome. NSCDC arrests 100 recruitment scam victims, kingpin. Nigeria gets 698,880 more AstraZeneca doses. Osh Poppy. Pro panel submits amended reports on Kyari. And Nigeria subsidized petrol smuggled as far as Mali, say custom. Our debts will keep rising, revenues declining. That's according to the federal government. This is such a damning headline. We'll see later when we
and
check
it's coming
out the
from
rest
the
of
federal
story.
government.
Yes, and there's a small picture of the Minister of Finance right beside that headline. Plateau killings, northern groups, one federal government, 13 more suspects arrested. Nigeria records 37,819 cholera cases. Death toll hits 1,178. I recall we talking about this last week, I believe. Dr. Hashimi was here talking about how he believes that the figures are probably more than what is being reported. Haugen, carpet governor, says local governments get 4.85 trillion naira in 3 years. Search for airport concessionaires begins. Kano Chamber signifies interest. 36 state attorneys general sue AGF over recovered funds remittance. These are some of the headlines from on the front page of the Punch newspaper today.
And from Nigerian Tribune, the big story is cholera. Now in 23 states, FCT has 1,178 deaths have been recorded, while suspected cases have reached 37,819, with states saying that we are collaborating with the NCDC to stem the tide. OPEC, PANDAF, PDP react as Buhari signs PIB into law. Coalition of Oil and Gas Host Communities. PIB is a rubber stamp of what the executive wanted. PANDAF says Buhari's assent is callous, repressive, insensitive to the emotions of the Niger Delta. While the PDP says Buhari signing PIB despite outcry shows his contempt for oil communities. OPEC says that the new law will enhance Nigeria's petroleum industry's reputation. And there are scenes here from Afghanistan with chaos at the Kabul airport. I'm sure we all saw that video, very disturbing, online of passengers who fell to, I assume, their death after, what's it called again?
Stowaway.
Yes, being stowaways in the plane. That's just how desperate people are to leave Afghanistan due to the situation there with the Taliban. Anyway, the pictures are captioned, Afghan nationals in a desperate attempt to flee the country ran towards an aircraft as it took off from the airfield in Kabul on Monday. Imagine, this is rather gory. I beg your pardon. It says some were crushed by the wheels of the aircraft, while some of the stowaways who clung to the fuselage as it took off fell off. My heart does go out to those people in Afghanistan at this moment. This headline reads, bandits...
And we must also mention that this is why a number of people are clamoring for how war or degenerating into extremism is not an option. Because this is what happens at the end of the day. This is a typical situation. I also saw another picture of an aircraft that had more than 600 people in it. People really desperate to escape this particular new government of the Taliban in Afghanistan and what have you. So as much as things are not going as we want it to go, war is definitely not the option. It's not what to consider.
Absolutely. Let me also add that what is going on with the Taliban, their ideals and what they are foisting on the people of Afghanistan is the natural conclusion of what will happen if Boko Haram continues, the way it is unchecked. It's already what is happening in some of the areas where they have sort of conquered and claimed as their territory. I mean, we already have young girls who are married off or who, let's look at the Chibok girls. We've had some rescues in the past couple of weeks, and each of these rescues that I've read of has come back with children. These girls were captured as girls who were learning in schools, and then they came back as mothers of 1, 2 children. I mean, those are the kind of things the Taliban is guilty of. So it's something the government had best act quickly on so that, we do not see this evolving in the north or even, other parts of Nigeria. Let me finish up with Nigerian Tribune now. Bandits kill police inspector, others kidnap 15 students in Zamfara. Village head, 5 others killed, several houses burnt in Katsina, 3 killed in fresh violence in Zango Kataf, 5 APC power blocks battle for control ahead of 2023 presidential poll. And finally is this headline, which was also in the Punch. Nigeria received 698,880 AstraZeneca doses. Flags of second phase of vaccination exercise. Looks like we're now spoiled for choice regarding the choice of vaccine. We have Johnson & Johnson, we have Oxford AstraZeneca, we also have Moderna vaccine. So this is a good time for you to go get your vaccine shots.
All right, and there is also a report that former Deputy Senate President Ibrahim Mantu is dead. According to family sources, the report is that Mantu died in a private hospital in Abuja in the early hours of today after falling ill 9 days ago. I must also say that there's I'm not saying Mantu died from COVID-19, but a number of people that have died from COVID-19 complications recently, you find out that the families are trying to say they just died, they've been healed for a few days, and then they just died. Then you later find out that some of them died from COVID-19 complications. So it's important that if this happens, peradventure, to someone close to us, that we do not cover it up, so that people that have come in contact with that particular person can do the needful. They can isolate, they can do what they have to do, but we have to come out plainly and tell the truth so that we protect other people, so that they don't go around infecting other people and what have you. The numbers are increasing daily. I'm sure you follow the news, you see it in the newspapers. So it's important that we continue to do our best. Let's start with the details of some of the story. And I believe the biggest story today has to be President Muhammadu Buhari signing the PIB yesterday, so it can now be called the Petroleum Industry Act now that it's a law. At the level of the National Assembly, a bill transmitted to the presidency. Immediately it was signed, it has become an act now. So I hope it will take some getting used to, because PIB.
For years, it's been over a decade.
PIA now, so it's going to take some getting used to.
But PIB does have a certain ring to it.
I'm telling you. But the story, the federal government may soon end the fuel subsidy regime with the signing of the Petroleum Industry Bill by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, on Monday. The Punch gathered that the government's position of fuel subsidy would form the major item during the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Chief Timber Receiver's press conference on the Petroleum Industry Law, which holds today. It was gathered that with the signing of the PIB into law, the cost of petrol would jump to as high as 300 naira per litre from the current 162 to 165 naira per litre. Upon the implementation of the law, if market forces were allowed to determine the price as stipulated in the new law. And working from home for the 5-day quarantine as stipulated by the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 after returning from London on Friday, the President has assented to the bill. And I'll quickly take some comments. PIB signing has ended fuel subsidy, market forces to determine prices. That's according to oil marketers. The Minister will tell Nigerians the next step today. That's according to the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources. Femi Gbajabiamila says oil industry will receive a breath of fresh air. Nigeria must end fuel subsidy, says Finance Minister. Buhari's PIB has sent sad day for Niger Delta people. I'm sure they're talking about the 3%, which was eventually what was signed into law at the end of the day. And we have joining us for this conversation Dawood Olatunji, who is reporter with the Punch newspaper and a public affairs analyst as well. Good morning, it's good to have you.
Good morning.
You're all smiles.
Good morning, Dawood.
And you have a cut too.
I mean, sure.
Good morning.
Good morning. Share the good news with us, Dawood. We'd like a spot of good news after reading some of the
when there is health, there is wealth. So
profound.
That's deep.
We are happy for our life.
So let's start with this story I just took about the PIP. It's been more than a decade in the making, and finally it's signed now, but there are still conflicts. There are still areas of conflict around this. There's the fuel subsidy removal. There is the issue of the 3%, that
and
goes
the
to the host communities,
30%.
and the 30% as well of the NNPC's profits that is allotted for oil exploration in the frontiers, which, according to many people, is the northeast and north central part of Nigeria. So there are still conflicts, but the president has assented to the bill now.
See, it is complicated. It's complicated. If the president had to be from south, maybe we'll have understood the PIB very well. It is an attempt to make almost everyone benefit from the oil, but it's also an injustice because those who produce the oil are suffering for the consequence, because the environmental pollution, environmental challenges should be considered. Not east, not west, except I think 1 or 2 states, they claim that they discover oil. So it should be and the state that produces the oil should be given priority. Ogun State, they also discover oil in Tongiji Island. So any state that produces oil should be given priority, should be treated with preferential treatment. But it is imbalanced. The relief I know they will have is they should pray that somebody from that side become the next president. You can amend the law and then adjust it. But if Mr. President wants to be just, he should consider the demands of the South people, because most of them are farmers. They are fishermen. They could not do some of this work because the oil, spill farmer and among others. So I think, although when you ask the presidency, you will say that that was the reason he established this commission, Niger Delta Commission, all those stuff. But unfortunately, those that were asked to manage it did not do it well. So Mr. President will say that it's not my fault. We have created that Niger Delta Development Commission for the purpose of developing the region, even Southeast too. But the problem is the leadership. But I believe that Mr. President has given an answer to it, but the fear is what was raised yesterday, that today is going to be the determinant of whether you are going to start buying fuel for 300 and above or not. I don't imagine we buy fuel for 250. This about 200 now. Let's say 172 or 160. Taxi, cab, taxi drivers, all these motorcyclists, commercial cyclists are giving us cutthroat. But so I want to imagine
we all buy bicycles.
Or horses.
What would bicycle do if I'm traveling to Ibadan?
We'll do it like our ancestors did and walk.
You can cycle all the way to Ibadan.
No, we even walk. You get there in a couple of days.
You suffer for it. The body pain, others, And I think they should look at any policy that is going to give good governance, going to give relief to the people. If this PIB will lead to removal of subsidy, they have been claiming that they are subsidizing fuel, and then now lead to the increase in the pump price. I don't pray that they push people to the wall. But if you push people to the wall, not anything can happen. But somebody was telling me yesterday that despite the outcry against increment in this motorcyclist union.
Right.
They started yesterday, 800 naira.
As opposed to?
From 500. It was 500 naira. This was the kind of gesture that led to the violence at IBC. From 600 to 800. Now, they started it yesterday, and I asked them, why did you not resist what? That the people that are supposed to help us, they are beneficiaries.
Well, they did come to protest here.
Why would they? The protest is no longer working. It's no longer making sense, because they will just address it. If they go to assembly members are also benefiting. If they go to government house, the officials are benefiting. So it's like the Bible say Federal Kasuka. It's like you have taken the matter to the wrong people.
So what should they?
So who are the right people?
You see, the problem is they have unions. But union, what I know about union is to protect, to help. They don't have such union. The union they have is to exploit them, collect revenue collection. That's the union they have. So they have the right to come together. But the problem is most of them are not that educated to know the essence of coming together. If they can come together without no violence, nobody is getting violence, that they resist it. That we can't pay. But when they say all of us should not pay, we will not see few people paying. Once the few people pay, so what are you talking about? So you cannot. I'm not part of them. I could have said I was spearheading it. But that's what we did in school. We did it in school, activism. But we did it with sense. Because we know that they can deal with us. They still have our certificate. But they can do it. They just need to come together and say, okay, and address the media first. If they address media, maybe the governor will. Because the governor has been silent. It is not that the governor that is benefiting directly. The money that's supposed to go to the cover is going to some pockets, personal pockets, and nobody is talking.
Daud, we're still going to come to that story, but let's stay with the PIB now for a few moments.
PIB has kind of relation. It's related to this because he has given assent now. Abi, the aftermath of it, that what we're talking about, they have started raising the issue that they may likely increase the pump price, and if the pump price is increased, everything,
the levies will increase.
Everything, onion, everything will, because our economy depends very, very heavily on oil.
And we've already we've already seen astronomical increase in price of most items in the last 1 year.
That would be a child play, sincerely, because at least we buy fuel for 172, 173. Now they increase it to 300 or above that. So a short distance that they take 100 naira, there won't be any any fare, 100 naira fare. If you are good from here to Yanomochuari, you pay 200. Where is the money? 33,000 naira as a civil servant. Where can that one take off? Those that are not civil servants, can they survive?
The NLC has been quiet about this. Do you think they are planning something, or do you think they are maybe worried because they've been carrying on this fight?
NLC has tremendous issues facing it. The issue of this minimum wage is a serious thing. It's a game. It is not that they are paying it. They structure it in a way that if you have been collecting, let's say you are collecting 18,000 naira before, they just calculate it and they have 7,000 on their rate. But it is not that it's a jacket increment. So there are issues. Doctors are on strike. Nurses are threatening strike. So many people. And except those who are politicians, that is why people want to die. But politics, there is cheap money. If you become lawmaker today, you live free house, you get about 500,000 naira monthly. And how many times do they sit? They sit, at most they sit 3 times. And at the end of 500,000 naira. Tell me that civil servant or public servant that get such amount of money. Why would people not kill themselves in politics? It's a cheap, it's a free money. And apart from that, there are so many other allowances. So we are in trouble. Everybody wants to become governor. Everybody wants to become lawmaker. We have 26 lawmakers, and everybody wants to become. So, and there is no way. That's why, look at, I listened to late Ibrahim Mantu's past video clip. He said he was confessing that he had been part of rigging the election. He said, but he has become a born again now. The man now asked him why he should explain how did he rig. He said he has been involved in giving bribes to INEC officials, giving bribes to security officials, giving bribes to political party agents. He now said, they now ask why. He said the reason is they told those INEC officers that wherever you see chance to favor or please do. That is why if this is a polling unit and 153 people have been accredited and only 50 people show up, so they will fill up and security will look away. And the party agents, all those mushroom parties, because they settle them. So he now said that they now ask him what should be the solution. He said the solution is we should start giving. If you don't give, nobody will take. That, and through that we can produce good leadership.
But should things like this not have consequences? If someone would come out openly to say that, but I did this in the past, is this not part of why this situation has festered because there are no consequences.
Yes, now those that are supposed to arrest them are also involved. The security agents, they are also involved. So it is complicated, sincerely. It is complicated. And I don't know how Nigeria will wriggle itself out of this. I told someone yesterday we were discussing, I said, I'm afraid that if something tangible is not done now, Nigeria in the next 5 or 10 years, I don't know what's going to be. Because I remember 15 years ago, we were complaining that what kind of country is this? And we didn't know that we are going to. And who knows that maybe the worst is coming? We don't pray for that. So something must be done.
Now, Daud, back to the PIB now. No doubt, this administration is going to regard the fact that it passed it as one of its pluses. I mean, this is a bill that has been in the works for nearly 2 decades even. In fact, we already have Bajabia Miller saying that it's a victory for Nigerians that the PIB was passed. You know, I'm sure the APC is going to try to claim it as a victory, but is it a victory? First of all, what stopped previous governments, past administration, from passing this PIB? And can it be regarded as a victory that the president has finally passed a bill that has been almost 2 decades in the making, in spite of the controversies and the fact that, you know, there are still so many contentious provisions that people are not in agreement with? So can it still be regarded as a victory regarding that? And what stopped previous administration from passing it?
You know, the substantial part of the 2 decades was, what was it called, spent by Goodluck Jonathan.
Now, please hold that thought. We'll continue with the rest of your reply after we come back from this commercial break. We'll be right back.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
Ẹ tẹ́tí sí ìkéde pàtàkì yìí. Ǹjẹ́ o ti gbọ́ nípa ilé-iṣẹ́ First January Agro Investment Limited rí? Ǹgbọ́ ṣé lóòótọ́ ni pé iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ lérè? Ǹjẹ́ bí o bá rí ẹni fún ọ ní ilẹ̀ lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ tí wàá fi dáko sí, báwo ló ṣe máa rí lára rẹ̀? Jọ̀wọ́ kọ nọ́mbà ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí sílẹ̀ náà 081 65 64 65 35. Àǹfààní aláìlẹ́gbẹ́ tó ṣàrà ọ̀tọ̀ kan ló ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí nílé iṣẹ́ First January Agro Investment Limited. Wá gba ilẹ̀ plọ̀tì kan sí 3 lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́ oko. Ẹ̀yin lẹ ní títí láé, kì í ṣe pé wọ́n yá yín o, torí wọ́n á ṣe ìwé ilẹ̀ yín fún yín. Àmọ́ ṣá o, ọdún 2 gbáko ní ó fi máa fún ilé iṣẹ́ First January Agro ní ìdá kan péré nínú ìdá 4 èrè tí ẹ bá jẹ nínú oko tí ẹ dá. Tètè kàn sí ilé iṣẹ́ First January Agro Investment Limited tó bá súnmọ́ jùlọ, tàbí kí o pe ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 081 65 64 65 35. Ìparí oṣù kẹjọ ọdún yìí láǹfààní yìí máa dópin o.
You fit fly.
Wow, You Fit Fly brings to you another wonder as we embark on a holy pilgrimage to the Kingdom of Jordan. Of course, you have been to Jerusalem a number of times as instructed by the New Testament, but this pilgrimage to Jordan will help you complete your holy pilgrimage according to the Old Testament. Remember, Jordan is where Jesus Christ was baptized by John the Baptist, and a number of historical sites mentioned in the Bible, like the point where Prophet Elijah was taken up by chariot of fire, as well as Mount Nebo where Moses stood to view the promised land, and the point where he struck the rock to bring forth water for the Israelites, and the miraculous Dead Sea, and a host of others. The holy pilgrimage to Jordan is slated for Tuesday 14th to Tuesday 21st September 2021, as led by evangelist J.A. Adelakun Ayawa. Visit You Fit Fly office now, 68B Awolowo Avenue, opposite Fed Adventure Palace, Ìsàlẹ̀ Ìgbẹ̀yìn, Abeokuta. Telephone 081-3378-5934.
ọ̀pọ̀ ogun ni kì í tán bọ̀rọ̀bọ̀rọ̀, ilẹ̀ kì í kú kì í sá, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kì í díbàjẹ́. èyí nílé iṣẹ́ àgbájọ homes and property Nigeria Limited ṣe ní àǹfààní mìíràn. ilẹ̀ wọn tó wà ní Randa 200,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀, báyìí 100,000 lẹ́sàn. ilẹ̀ wọn ò ṣẹlẹ̀ phase 4 200,000 náà tẹ́lẹ̀, báyìí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti sọ 100,000 àǹfààní gbé tán ni. ilẹ̀ Sódẹ́kẹ́ 500,000 tẹ́lẹ̀ lọ́rọ̀ báyìí 250,000 lẹ́sàn. àgbájọwọ́ tip-top land phase 2 lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ alámọ̀lá barak ló wà 150,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀, báyìí 75,000 lẹ́sàn. lórí ìdajì owó tẹ́ ẹ bá san ni o ẹ láǹfààní láti gba ilẹ̀ yín lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀. ilẹ̀ oko ń bẹ ní òṣìṣẹ́lẹ̀ àti alábàtà tẹ́ ẹ bá ti ra plọ́ọ̀tì mẹ́ta ẹ ó gba ìdajì bó sì jẹ́ éèkà kan lẹ́ra odidi plọ́ọ̀tì lẹ́gbà sí lórí 40,000 naira per plot. Number 39 NTA Road Ọgbẹ́ Abeokuta 07044648338 07044648338.
àǹfààní ìṣísílẹ̀ di ọgbọ̀njọ́ oṣù kẹjọ tí a wà yìí.
torí pé àràkún laṣọ gbági.
tí wọ́n bá lo ráyéwá nítorí pé o lówó lọ́wọ́ tí wọ́n bá ń pọ̀ ráyéwá nítorí dúkìá tó pọ̀ tó ní ọkàn ò tí ì balẹ̀ pọ̀ ráyéwá àlàáfíà lògùn ọrọ̀ ṣáájú ara rẹ o ìlera sílẹ̀ mí gígùn gbogbo àrùn tí ń ṣe ẹ̀dá láyé náà kọ́ láyé fi ń ṣe ni bí dọ̀tí bá pọ̀ lára tí gbogbo ẹ́ńjìnì tásẹ̀dá dá bá ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ tó kọsẹ́ má fòyà tó bá ṣe bí ẹni rárá tára rẹ ò ṣe déédéé pinnu ló kan àyà ara rẹ o Benetton cleanser ní kò sẹ́mu agbanugbade fọgẹ̀dẹ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ ara dànù Benetton jagunlabi panko pè ọ̀rẹ́ ara tọmọdé tàgbà tọkùnrin tóbìnrin ló lè lò ọ̀sọ́kùnrin sóbìnrin dòpépé Benetton cleanser atẹ́jẹsẹ maradan bíi kóròsìn Benetton cleanser kìkìdé gbòógì tí ò lọ́tínú la fi ṣe ó ti wà káàkiri ilé ìtajà ògùn jákèjádò ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà a sì ń wá alágbàtà fún Benetton cleanser pé nọ́mbà kò demand 08034051533 08034051533 iléeṣẹ́ ẹ̀mí wọn naturalist care ló ṣe Benetton cleanser òun láyé tún lò.
ẹ wá gbọ́ bí mo ṣe wí níbi káàtà lẹ́tọ̀ wá pa ìwé ọ̀sán properties ní ká lọ wọn kì í talẹ̀ kan fẹ́ ní méjì ṣèyẹn lé ní wàhálà ọkàn nílẹ̀ ìyẹn ò sí lọ́dọ̀ wọn wò ó sùn bí máa wojú àwọn ti bí ìbẹ̀rù ọlọ́run náà fi ń tajà àti wọn ìwé lọ́dọ̀ tí tọ́ ọ̀dùn àlàáfíà.
simple ẹtẹ́lẹ̀ mi ká lọ o.
ká lọ bá àwọn dòwò pọ̀ ìwé ọ̀sán properties nílùú Ẹ̀gbálé.
gbogbo ilẹ̀ Dewey Homes and Properties ló gbàgbé tán àbí san díẹ̀díẹ̀ a wà ní 24 Nawarudin Road ládojúkọ Nawarudin High School Ìṣàbọ̀ Abẹ́òkúta 08161411190 tàbí 09125242235 Dewey Homes and Properties ẹni mọ̀nà ni ẹjọ́ fi yín mọ̀nà.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Welcome back. This is Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM. We are the Integrity Station and we're taking a deep dive into the Petroleum Industry Bill, which is all the papers are talking about this morning. It's a bill that's nearly 2 decades in the making, and the president has finally assented to it, making it the Petroleum Industry Act as of yesterday. Now, what I was asking Daud, the question you were just answering before we went to that commercial break is whether this is indeed a victory for Nigerians, given how long it's taken to pass it, but it's still generating controversy because there are many areas people are dissatisfied with, as well as what stopped the previous administration from passing this bill.
Let me start with the last one. It will be too early for us to say that we should rejoice. Let's see the implementation. What's going to the aftermath of the implementation? If for instance, incorporating the hosting communities, it's a good thing, socially. Because the chicken that produces,
even though it's 3%, they're complaining about
3 and
3%.
5. At least they remember that there are communities that produce our resources. Initially, it was not. So that's one too. The PIB has a lot of controversy. That is why some of these presidents, especially former President Jonathan, did not want to have PIB. Because the outcry is coming from that region, so he'll be blackmailed that is a bastard. And he want to be not as domineering gesture, and he's living in the north. At least Aso Rock is in the north. So if he try to favor his people, let's say now 30% or 50% should be given to oil producing community, not to make life difficult for him. You don't understand. So he rather
shied away from it.
So Buhari, is a northerner, and then And then he could not even do it at the first. He had to do it at second time because he does not need our vote again. He is not coming back as a senator or whatever. After that, he's going back to his. So most of these politicians usually venture into controversy when they are about going. During the second term, I'm also had serious issues too during the second. So that has been the trend. So I see it's that's good and bad in PIB. The good is host community that are carried along, and then if they implement it very well. But there are other issues that people have started with by evening of today. We will know where we are going to, because they are going to talk about subsidy. If they remove the subsidy, definitely the pump price will be jacked up.
All right, another story here that is somewhat related. Nigeria subsidized petrol smuggled as far as Mali. That's according to the Nigeria Customs Service. This has been a recurring challenge. So Nigeria subsidizes petrol, say from 300 to 162, and then people take the already subsidized petrol out of the shores of the country to now sell above that price, making humongous profit. And custom now is talking about it again, but how can we stop this? It's been going on for a long time. At some point, we saw the figures when the borders were shut and when the borders were open as to the number of liters of petrol that we consume daily. But this does not seem to be going anywhere.
I did a special report on smuggling activities in Oku State, and in the course of my gathering materials, I discovered that it's happening too along this Jiroko axis. And then there are some people, they said suspected smuggler, they constructed filling stations very close to the that border. And what they do, they sell in the night. And the security agencies, they are aware. And in fact, the insider gave me bit by bit analysis what they do, that if a 33,000 liter tanker from East Port taking the fuel across, and apart from that, every week we collect 250,000 naira from all these owners of the filling station that constructed it very close to the border, who collect it. You know, these are issues. You see, the problem is if you get good and sincere security agents that are very patriotic, because it's like you are commissioned to arrest. The thieves now came to you and said, I'm the one they ask you to arrest. I want to strike a deal with you. And they strike deals. That's what is happening. So until security agents fear God and then show a very high level of patriotism, we will not go anywhere. Let them continue subsidizing. Some people will be exploiting or manipulating that subsidy and taking how fuel still get to the Republic.
The Department of Petroleum Resources had approved the establishment of filling stations along the land borders, while the NNPC keeps supplying the commodity to the stations against customs' advice. Just to buttress what you said.
Why would they not supply? Border areas should be questioned. Who are they selling the fuel to? So these are issues, and I think that the government is not only government cannot end this. It is the people. Because I have some of them, after doing that report, some of them came to me and said, bro, it's not like that. Okay, can you narrate? They are not ready to narrate it. For those that are affected, because they immediately federal government shut the border. That's 20 kilometers, from border, that nobody should sell fuel. What they now did was that they now buy land from that 21 kilometer. They buy land and then they constructed. What's it called? Securities are not, agencies are not seeing any, but they went the ground. They mention names. junction by junction, by checkpoint. They mention all the security agencies, all of them. They mention them so that they are part of this conspiracy. The our guys may not know or may know, but those their boys on the road, they get money, huge money.
While they wet the ground. But let's talk about this story as well. Our debts will keep rising, revenues declining from the federal government. Federal government has said it plans to borrow more to fund its budget for 2022, while it will spend more to service the growing debt as a result. The Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, the Debt Management Office and the Budget Office of the Federation gave indication at a public hearing organized by the House of Representatives Committee on Finance in Abuja on Monday. Well, there's been a lot of noise about our debt to GDP ratio as regards how much debt we are accruing, but this government is not slowing down.
And I also want to ask, why what happened to the government or this administration's diversification drive that it started with? Then we're making a lot of noise about agriculture, and it's like borrowing is where their interests align right now.
Yes. No thanks to COVID-19.
Really?
Yes, no thanks to COVID-19. But yes, government indeed meant business on agriculture. But if you want to gain from agriculture, it's not just 1 year. Not 1 year. You have to invite all these agriculture experts. It is not 1 year, 2 years.
But this is
you have to invest hugely on it.
The 6th year.
Yeah. So we are just saying that you want to diversify. Why? You have to do a lot of work. People who want to work. Them just after one round or 1.5 round, they left. Because the policy was to encourage the youth to go into family business so that everybody can. When we were young, there is a song that we also want. If you want to approach a lady, you want to say, I want to toast her. Then who are you? I say, I'm a farmer. Because of that, she may say she's not interested. Because farmer has got a kind of a name that they don't want. So I think there is need for federal government. I told someone after reading this report, I said to get to a point that federal government will be blacklisted. No, Nigeria will be blacklisted from these people that give money, lenders. Because if we have some people here, and you need to prune down the number of the aids. There are so many ways by which we waste money. Then if, let's say NAFTA, for instance, want to come like we are giant of Africa, we have established institution here in Abeokuta. They come to work. They don't come to work and they collect money because the place has more or less become moribund. But federal government still pay the workers. He said what they do is that if there are 6 in the department, 2 will come this week. So the following week, another 2. That's what they have been doing. And federal government is paying them. So there are some agencies that need to have shut down. There are some agencies that they need to merge so that to save cost. But they are still that we don't have that fund again. That is why you see that government want to do this. Look at 774,000 public. It's a very good idea. Federal government could not pay all at once because, according to them, there is paucity of funds. We need to now face the reality.
Well, I wanted us to talk about cholera that is ravaging the north and some southern states.
It has not come to us here.
No, it has. 4 states in the south, 19 in the north, all 19 northern states. And consultants too are threatening to go on strike. I think that was yesterday or 2 days ago. What does this?
But we'll say that and they gave all the statistics. Then they were giving them this about 2 students died. They gave some of these drugs to teachers. They said they trained them. They said one the teacher was at. You don't understand. Put it back. So the findings show that, but we could not because I said 2 of us got. So these are issues that we may have. I don't know what they have done. I said I'm going to update it, but the last time 18 local government.
All right, let's get to the phone lines now very quickly so that we can get your thoughts on some of the headlines and some of the stories we have delved into as well 0704 400 106. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Nicholas.
Nicholas.
People fetch water from the gutter in Polikolobo and Okinlewo. So, and many people rely on the river for toilet purposes and domestic purposes. So we don't need the WHO. There's tolerance of the case. We don't need the tolerance. This is simple fine. Secondly, anyone who eats food and it has 400 doctors in this country. Cholera is approaching from the north to the south. And the Minister of Labour thinks the best thing to do is to shield the remaining doctors who are still patriotic, who have not passed their exams, or who are just, when you say that the president is scared of the North, did we elect the president to stand the North? The North. Thirdly, here to Odria, to Sagama, to Ogoni, whatever sharing formula, 3%, but the whole world, and under the Taliban, the present government.
A bit of correction here now. The southern states affected and not Osho.
Please go on.
When there is no food, you give them another Ministry of Niger Delta, Niger Delta Commission. They are still listening. And this one now is still, we are still taking it out. Because, my dear brother, in this country, what we need, we have been saying it. We need bettering and fresh control. Let's control, let's be taking control and take care of all these problems.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Alaji. Sadly, we do have to go now. Thank you very much, Daoud, for your time this morning and for your analysis.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ayoade Shorunke, for your comment on WhatsApp. We're strained for time, so we cannot take it, but we appreciate it nonetheless. My name is Lola Miduteni.
And I am Buyiga Olani. Thank you for joining us.